I worked technology and management for about 6 years right after I graduated. Actually, right after I graduated, I worked in finance for about a year. And then I switched over to doing, technology, right? And then more and more I was doing technology. I got burned out multiple times when I was there. I didn't know what I'm going to teach you guys at that time. And only I know if I knew these things at that time, I would have less issues. But what happened was, yeah, I had anxiety, I had stress, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna take a vacation and I'm gonna go back. Um, got burned out again, and then I did it again. I was like, okay, let me switch my jobs and let's see if that helps. Got burned out again. I was like, why is this happening? Right? So I was like, I couldn't really. I was getting, anxiety. I was getting depression. I was getting angry. I think one of the biggest things I was having issues with was I was continually getting angry, and I didn't know how to control that. I was angry at some of my colleagues, and like how things are, like how things businesses are run. And I honestly thought, responding with anger was the right thing, because I used to play rugby and football, and that the control version of anger really helped with sports at that time. So I didn't know that was going to cause issue. And then, like, when I have like challenging situations, so the before I used to handle challenging situations with anger when I was younger, right, when I was playing sports. But I realized when I became older, it became a more of a natural thing, right, to respond with anger. And I didn't really moderate it. I didn't modify it. I thought, it's like, who cares? What's wrong with it? So because I was able to control it, right, I was not able to let it affect me. But I didn't know it was internally, subconsciously affecting me, giving me more stress and anxiety. I did not know they are correlated. So it was just a response that I thought was the right way to do it. So that was a major issue for me. And then I realized it was actually causing me more problems than before. So that's when I decided to find answers to my own problems, because I couldn't really find anything that could help me. And at that time, to be honest, I don't think even though there was psychotherapy and counseling, it didn't click to me that I should go to that. Right? I didn't think like I was actually, believe it or not, I went to like a massage therapist, and in that center they had, psychotherapy. I was like, oh, do you help with like executives or professionals with like stress? And it's like, they're like, no, we just help people who have like abuse or PTSD, or who have severe issues. Like, okay, I see that how you guys do it. So I mean, not like in a negative way, that's what I saw. So that's when I decided to kind of find my own answers. So and then that I realized led to my anxiety, led to like having high blood pressure and things like that. So that's one of the main things that I noticed. And I like only about last 2 years that I realized, man, anger is a major cause for these things. That was what. So yeah, then, like I said, when I don't had those conditions, I need to figure out, like, I need to find answers, solutions. So that's kind of big. That was my beginning for my like spiritual journey, or the seeking or the truth seeking journey. And yeah, in the beginning, it was a very dark time. It was like I felt like there was no one to turn to. Yeah, I just didn't have anyone to even say like this. I didn't even know like how to express my problems. I didn't know what my problems were. I just knew that I was in a tough time. And a year after, my also dad passed away. So that like really exacerbated my issues. So made things worse essentially. So then now I have like how I had to ask questions like not only just the psychological mental issues, like what's going to happen after I die? Where is he after his death? Right? So I started to look to answers for that as well, like, because it was a major concern. And I wonder, am I doing the right things in my life? How is my like afterlife going to look like by with what I'm going through? Am I even doing the right stuff? So it's a two levels of questions started to really come up. I had like a high blood pressure and things like that, but I didn't really concern me, because I was more upset about how things were going at that time. But then that's when I started to, decide to live like a monk, and this kind of, not really focus on, working. And then like, how do I like, because I was really actually, there was a period where I couldn't return to work. Every time I would return, I would get burned out. So out of no choiceness, I had to live like a monk and learn how to get over my issues. And that's when I started to read a lot of psychology, a lot of spirituality, a lot of religions, like even the Bible, Bhagavad Gita. Even first, I started with mindfulness and meditation, right? So that was the beginning, and that's in the beginning it helped a lot, but it also helped me understand, I feel like, spirituality more. So that was kind of the beginning what I did, and like with meditation and things like that. And I'll tell you what are the things I did in the journey. But that's kind of how all this mindfulness, meditation, spirituality came to be. And then after that, I did that for about years. I was by myself trying to find answers, reading, and then I started to find answers, and then I started to share some of these things with people. And that's when I started to see, man, it's they were actually, before we even go there, it was actually started to help me, like certain things I was reading, but the things were not always clear. It was still there. I felt like there was a lot to learn. So that's when I went to Sri Lanka. I was like, man, there's still missing pieces. There's certain things that I don't understand. I feel like I'm in a better mental state than I was before, but things still not truly clear. So I went to Sri Lanka to find answers. Because I started, my background is in Buddhism. So I was watching these monks, giving advice and lectures on a few things. So I went to Sri Lanka to learn from them. But when I went there, I didn't really find the answers that I wanted. They weren't really focused on what I needed. So I learned from them. I learned how they do things, how they came to be, and all these things. So I realized, some of these things they were able to help me with. Because one of the things that gave me the idea that mind works under specific principles was one of the monks, like their leading monk. I was like, oh, really? It works like based on principles? And then I just started to look into it. I was like, man, it does work based on principle. So then I just looking to figure out what is these principles mean. Funny enough, if you look at the word Dharma means actually principles. The Dharma actually coming from the word Mula Dharma. That means foundational principles. But what happens, the Buddhists actually took the word, misinterpreted the word, and thought that's just Buddhism. Right? So you will see the word Dharma means nature of things, or how something works, but they kind of combined with this morality thing and then kind of got confused. But what I see is like it's nothing to do with morality. It's like how physical principles work, right? Like physics, right? So the principle, it doesn't matter your opinion. It's a specific way. So that's when I realized, like, man, the mind works under that. So we gotta learn how these laws work. And then when I was researching Christianity, I was like, yeah, there's something called the law. What is this law? Right? So do unto others is done upon you is the nature of the mind, not nature of you. So things like that I started to kind of see. It's like, and in same law, it's applied in Buddhism, which is law of cause and effect, or karma. So I was like, man, there's like, it's all over. These laws are there. And then I started to look into them. And then I finally, about a couple of years ago, I've started to kind of understand these things about the mind in a very particular way, which is essentially what we're going to be talking about with the laws of the mind and the architecture of the mind and things like that. And I started to see a lot of relationships with software and mind, and how the mind works under specific principles and laws rather than of opinion per se, right? It has a specific way it functions, like how gravity, right? It's whether you argue with gravity or not, it's still working in a very specific way. It follows law of gravity. So I found there's specific laws like that is associated with the mind as well. And then when I started to learn about these things, this is when I really started to really understand the mind in a way that is more structured and more coherent and internally consistent. Otherwise, it was just everybody saying all kinds of things about the mind, right? So that's where what happened at the last part of my journey. And then this is kind of the beginning of me telling about it. So that's when I started the Kohomen Institute. You will see, like, I'll show you. So this is when I started to really focus on helping people with their spirit, body. Actually, it should be spirit, mind, body, but spirit, body, and mind. So that's when I started to really understand what is in the mind, what is the spirit about, and then how is that related to our mind. Now what I'm focused on doing, helping people with their thinking, and especially professionals and executives, and helping them with spiritual aspects as well, spiritual care and things like that.